Oh, what makes something living? What makes it biotic or part of the bios of this planet? What makes me different than the zombies in Walking Dead? Or better yet, Night of the Living Dead, right? Why is young Frankenstein's monster in Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein? Why is it not living? Or is he living? Have you ever seen Young Frankenstein? You should. It's such a great. Mel Brooks is great. You probably have a feel for what is living, right? But it's kind of hard to explain. If I ask my classes, what's living? Some people will say it's living if it's breathing or if it can move. Yeah, but what about bacteria? They don't breathe. They only move by like external forces. What about jellyfish? They don't have lungs. Do they have gills? If they don't have either, are they even breathing? What is breathing? The qualities of living things are actually much more broad than even the term breathing. And yes, bacteria and jellyfish are exchanging gases with the environment. So even though they're not breathing with lungs or gills, they are taking in oxygen and they are giving off carbon dioxide. Every living thing shows order. This sunflower has its reproductive organs surrounded by the male reproductive organs, then surrounded by these very attractive petals. I know that we may never see each other in person in this class, and I'm surely never going to tape a video of myself when I'm sick. But when I'm ill, my body has a hard time maintaining order. I look disorderly. Are you the same? Like just an incredible mess when you're sick. Your body is spending so much of its energy making white blood cells and trying to keep order in your fluids that you divert your energy to that instead of things like brushing your hair, taking a shower, brushing your teeth. Have you ever been so sick that you can't even brush your teeth? Ugh. Order is an implication that your body and bodies of other living things maintain homeostasis, or an internal steady state, despite fluctuations in the external environment. All life is capable of interacting with the external environment around it. In order to do this, living things, they have to be able to sense stimuli in the environment, but also respond to that stimulus. I have a picture here of sunflowers because if you have ever driven by a patch of sunflowers in the morning, all their heads are facing east to the rising sun. And then when you come home from work in the afternoon, all of those sunflower heads will be facing west toward the setting sun. And this is a property called phototaxis, where living things move in response to light. There's also a process called chemotaxis, which is what happens to me when I smell coffee brewing. The stimulus of a chemical, of coffee, draws me to the kitchen, taxis, taxi movement, where I will refill my coffee cup. Everything that's living has the ability to reproduce. This reproduction could be asexually, where clones are made, or it could be sexually, where genetics are shuffled and the offspring is not identical to the parents. Pictured here, I have vegetables and fruits. Yeah, peppers are actually, and tomatoes, which are essentially seed containing structures. Most of these vegetables you see here are literal fruits of plant reproduction. The pepper, the tomato, there's an anise pod up on the top that you can see. The lime and the coconut are most likely the result of sexual reproduction involving pollination and the growth of seeds. So pollen is like plant sperm, seed is like plant baby. The other vegetables in the slides are basically in the onion category, and onions are not always grown from seed. Onions are usually grown by division. So if you grow onions in your yard, any of these types here, at some point you'll dig them up and you'll realize that there are these little tiny onions hanging off the sides of them. And these babies are clones of the original bulb. And if you take these tiny baby bulbs and replant them, you will get full onions. And this is why if you see onions advertised for sale somewhere, they're grown as onion sets and not onion seeds. Adaptation is a topic that can be difficult to understand without learning the specifics of natural selection and some of the random ways in which genetics are honed to their environment. I have a picture here of two plants that grow in the gardens in my backyard. The one on the left is a purple coneflower, which has the genus name of Echinacea. And the one on the right is a blackberry lily, a name which comes from the presentation of the seeds of this plant in the fall. The seeds are organized to look just like a blackberry. I believe the blackberry lily is in the gladiola family. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me. But these two plants, they bloom and grow together at the same time of year. And that's because they don't compete for the same pollinators. While the echinacea spews its pollen by way of wind and other large insects, the blackberry lily contains a sugary nectar. So insects like butterflies are looking for like huge landing pads and they're attracted to the echinacea. But hummingbirds and hummingbird moths with these really long proboscises or long beaks, their beaks are like straws and they can drink the nectar in that blackberry lily. These pollinators are adapted also to the different flower types so that they're reducing competition for food. All of this increases the probability that these plants will share their genetics throughout the rest of their population in my yard. Whether you are talking about cells, an organism, or an entire ecosystem, life exhibits growth and development at all levels. So work with me here. We're all very familiar with how one organism can grow in size, right? The term growth does not always have to apply to just one organism. Entire populations of a single species are capable of growth. Nothing exemplifies this better than the growth of the human population. Development is a word that also falls under the category of growth, but development is more about the process of becoming more complex. And you might not actually grow in size as you do that. Although an embryo and a fetus, they definitely display growth in size over 9 months. What's more important to gestating a human is the development of complexity from a ball of homogeneous cells to a human with cells acting differently in different systems. This elephant with the big ears shows a property of regulation, which also dictates why they live in such hot environments. Your body temperature, your blood pressure, your blood glucose, and even the sheer arrangement of your body structure is a reflection of regulation or homeostasis. This elephant here is using the thin membranes of their ears to help maintain their body temperature. Can you see? You can kind of see some of the blood vessels in their ears. These vessels are so close to the surface on both the front and the back sides, and these vessels are helping the blood blow off some hot body heat in this really hot savanna environment, right? And this is why you always see them flapping their ears when they're hot. They're regulating their internal environment by increasing their exchange with the external environment. This butterfly is drinking nectar from the reproductive parts of this flower, which I think is a zinnia. Anyway, this butterfly will then convert the nectar into something that their cells can use, which is a little molecule called ATP. I mean, think of it this way. I can rub sugar all over my body, but that's not going to do anything but exfoliate my skin. If I eat the sugar, then I'll be able to turn it into ATP and use it. So all animals, all plants, all bacteria, they all use ATP as this like little packet of energy. The ability to create ATP, well, you don't create it. The ability to convert energy from your carbohydrates, lipids, and or proteins is a quality of life known as energy processing. I once had a student say that anything you plug into an outlet processes electrical energy. And so, why isn't my computer living? And I was like, excellent question. However, a living thing has all of these properties of life, not just one of them. Adaptation and evolution have a pretty fine line between them. Adaptation is like it's like a part of evolution. It's one pathway to evolution, but there are other pathways. What I have pictured here are the pink and purple flowers of a sweet pea plant. The father of genetics, an Austrian monk from the 1860s, known as Gregor Mendel, he grew thousands of generations of this plant, recording the percentages of offspring with different traits. So, well before the knowledge of DNA was established, Gregor Mendel was establishing the probabilities upon which evolution is based. I should point out that evolution does not happen to one organism. It has to happen to a population or a collection of organisms of the same type. Evolution also takes successive generations, lots of them. And therefore, for many organisms, evolution can take years, decades, and possibly even eons in order to see evolution. Are these valid qualities of living things? Maybe. Maybe just for now. Maybe based on life that we know it. But all living things, whether they may have many cells or one cells, they're all made of cells. In fact, there's something called cell theory, which I think is both ridiculous and profound at the same time. Cell theory says that all cells come from pre-existing cells. So, as a good science student, this should make you ask, where did the first cell come from? Yeah, that's a topic for next semester. But I have some plant cells pictured here, and you can see there are little chloroplasts in them. These are the organelles that convert sunlight to energy that's usable by this plant. So, right now, all organisms contain cells, but we don't want to limit ourselves to right now. We want to have these properties of life be large enough, flexible enough to maybe pertain to life forms that we find in the future. I've also included DNA here because, again, every living thing we currently know about has DNA. Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing. If we were to discover life on a different planet, the subunits of their structures might not be cells. It might not be DNA. They might have something that does the same function but has a different form, right? There may be a different language on which their life is based. It might not be DNA. So I get that this slide is just a reminder that when what we know now is going to change as our technology and our abilities to explore the earth and the universe advance.